Recording in progress.
Good morning. Special thank you to all the Masadrim. It's not necessarily in the right order. I don't know if there is a right order, but thank you to Zvi Goldring and Moti Zeitlin and Nachman Fried, my Rebbe Chaim Kramer and BRI and everyone who's involved here. We are learning Torah Dalet in the first part of Likutei Moharan. We're starting the fourth paragraph. Just to get us into the flow, paragraph 1, we talked about the glimpse that a person can have while in this world into Olam Haba, and that glimpse is when a person literally knows, not just has a munah, and it's not just a feeling; it's actually a complete dash shleimus, which Rav Nachman is going to talk about later, and that is to know with absolute certainty that everything that happens to us, the good and the bad, is actually all from the same one source of Hashem, which is only good. And as we're going to see soon, it's also sourced in a place of Ava. The good and the Ava and the Chesed and the Achdus of Hashem is all really united as one. Talking of united, this particular day is the day when we on this coming Shabbos is when we've got Matan Torah from 3,338 years ago to the day that we were all ba'achdus. So this is the ultimate achdus, to see that Hashem is only good all the time. So that was paragraph 1. Paragraph 2, we saw that this is this glimpse into Olam Haba while we're in Olam Hazeh is only possible if a person actually. We talked a little bit about this, and it's going to come up a few times till today and in the rest of the Torah. If a person's able to transfer back the averas that caused power to the other side, Malchus of Tumah, and get them back to us, the powers that we give to the nations. The language in most of the Likutei Moharan editions is akum, but it actually means goyim. It's referring to the nations. Akum, as we mentioned last week, is an apologetic term that we had to put into most of the text in order to insinuate that we're only talking about akum. That's what akum is an abbreviation for. And therefore we're only talking about idolaters. We're not talking about the Christian world and Islam and all the others. We're only talking about, because they're decent and they're very good to the Jews. As we know, Christianity is a religion of love that loves us to death. As has been demonstrated from the Inquisition and the Crusades, etc. So, just be clear that we give power to the nations; they get their power from us. That Malchus that they have is the Memshala, the rulership is from our Averas, and we're going to learn. We learned also that in paragraph Gimel, the only way to transfer what we've given them back to Hashem, who is the real Malchus, is through Vidui Dvarim. Vidui Dvarim, specifically in front of a Talmud Chacham. So this is unfortunately has been completely distorted by many detractors of Rav Nachman, and we will, when we learn this Be'iyun, we'll look at that very carefully, how there's plenty of sources in the Torah and Nach for showing that Vidui Dvarim in front of a Talmud Chacham, including Halach in Rambam, in Hilchos Teshuvah, Perek Aleph, Halacha Aleph, we're going to look clearly that this is not a Breslov Chidush. There are parts of it that you could say are Chidushim, but the actual concept of Vidui Dvarim, which unfortunately I don't like the word confess as a translation, because Vidui comes from the word Hodah, which means to admit. So confession has the connotation of the Catholic version of confession, so that's why I'm not always crazy about translations that are borrowing from what's popular. The word Hodah is admission. It also means thank you. We're going to see the relationship between the two. So that took place in paragraph Gimel, where the statement was made that you can't transfer the Malchus that we lose in giving the Malchus to Hashem, and we lose it to the non-Jews. We can't get it back except through Vidui Dvarim in front of Talmud Chacham. So now we're into paragraph Dalet. I'm going to try and get to Zion and maybe up to finish Zion as well. That will bring us to 7 paragraphs out of 11, and that will be approximately halfway, a little bit less than halfway through the 11 paragraphs. And then we're going to do, as requested, we're going to go Be'iyun from Aleph to Zion, including Zion, and then we'll continue from Ches to the end, Bekiyus, and then we'll do Iyun for all of that. So now we're in paragraph Dalet, Ukashayeda Kol Zeis. When a person knows all this, what is all this? The all this is the 3 points that we've brought so far, that there is such a thing as glimpsing Olam Haba in this world. The translation is a taste of Olam Haba, but the problem is that's not the translation of the word Me'ein Olam Haba. Me'ein Olam Haba comes from Loshen Ayin and I. So we were talking about the chush of seeing, not tasting. So it's actually a glimpse where a person sees in their mind's eye, so to speak, everything is perfect. To know this, Nikra Yediyah Shlema. This is called total Yediyah. Total, you can translate it as knowledge, but it's a knowledge that's very penetrating. It's a Das Shlema. Ki Ikha Das, the main concept of Das, of real full knowledge, Hu Achdu Shel Chasadim Ugvurais. That is the unity, the perfect, complete combination of Chesed, which we know is kindness, Ugvurais, and Dinim. Gvura is referring to harsh judgments. Zeh Nikra Das. This combination, that's called Das. As we know in the Sphira, Das is not per se an actual Sphira, but it is what's called the combination of Chesed and Gvura. So Gvura, I think we talked about a little bit. Gvura, unfortunately, is usually translated as power. Power is a toitzah of Gvura. It's not what Gvura means. Gvura means restraint. The Gemara asks, "My Gvura shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu." What's Hashem's Gvura? It doesn't make sense to call Hashem a Gibor. Hagibor, we call him Hagibor. That means he's the one that has all the Gvura. Any Gvura that comes in the world is really sourced in Hashem. So the Gemara asks in Yumad Samach Tes, I think Amud Beis, "My Gvura," because we say every day Hagibor. So what is his Gvura? Chazal tell us, Ezu Gibra Kovesh et Yitzray. So where's Hashem is Kovesh et Yitzray? So the Gemara answers, he's Erech Apayim. He's Erech up, he's extremely patient with Tzaddikim, gives them another chance because he's confident that he made no junk, and therefore, when they make a mistake, they can correct themselves. And the other part, Erech Apayim, is 2 nostrils. One nostril is open wide for the Tzaddikim. When you're holding in your anger, you're not letting it out of the nostrils. That's called Gevura, and Hashem's Gevura is that he is the Ikka Gevura is that he is also patient with the Rishayim. So that's what it really means. And you look at the Gemara there; it's a very fascinating Gemara that Hashem's Gevura is most evident in the fact that the Rishayim are still living and getting away with their rishos, and that's what it looks like. And this is how Gufa this actually is the highest demonstration of Hashem's Gevura, that is holding back from bringing full paranut, full payment. That's what paranut correctly means. It doesn't mean punishment. We actually don't have a word in Lashon HaKodesh for punishment. Please be merciful me. I can't find anywhere where it actually translates correctly as punishment. Paranut means
Onesh? What's onesh?
payment.
Onesh?
Einish comes from there's 2 parts to Einish, Ayin and Nash. Ayin is an eye that sees. Nash means fall away. So it has nothing to do with food. Please be merciful me. That don't take away your appetite. But nash means fall. Like a neshek swoops down. Any word in Lashon HaKodesh that's the 2-letter root nash, it has something to do with going down. Like nashal. When a person smashes an axe and the actual metal part of the axe goes flying off and kills someone, the Lashon there is nashal. It fell down. So the concept of Einesh is to see how I've fallen. So the midah, connected midah, has to provide for the person who did something wrong a way for him to see his mistake. So you'll see, for example, in Parashas Mishpatim, when it talks about the Einesh for an Eved Ivri who stole and has no money to pay back, what's his Einesh? So he has to be put into a situation where he can learn what it means to do chesed, where his boss, his Adon, actually will give him the only pillow that the family has right now, or the only piece of steak, he gets that. He's treated so well that he has to learn to not steal and to care and care about the other people. So when a person kills by accident, he goes to an Ari Miklat. The Ari Miklat were 48 cities. There were 3 major Ari Miklat in the north and then on the other side of the Yarden. But besides that, every era of the Levium was an era Miklat. And one of the Tarek mitzvahs is every single crossroads every junction in Eretz Yisrael, there had to be a sign telling you where the nearest Ir Miklat was, so that the person who killed by accident, that's the worst imaginable chet. Chet is a mistake. The worst mistake would be to inadvertently kill someone. So you see how gracious the Torah is, that you have a mitzvah to actually put a road sign for the nearest Arei Miklat, and he goes there. How's that going to help anything? Because he killed by mistake. There's no such thing as a mistake. There's something that was negligent in his behavior, that he wasn't sensitive to what he was doing at the time, to be careful not to speed or what it was that he caused the death of another Jew. So in the Ir Miklat of Leviim, this is the Shevet Levi, who are the, if you want to call, pristine role models of Klal Yisrael. They're the ones who are learning Torah all day. They're supported by Kodesh Baruch Hu. They don't own property. They live a life of betachan, and they provide service in the Beis HaMikdash. And by living amongst them, he's living with role models of what it means to be medactic, very careful in the kiyum of mitzvahs. So Oynesh actually doesn't exist in terms of punishment. Punishment does exist where I have no chance to understand what I did wrong. That's a punishment, because I've got no chance of teshuvah. So that is a good translation for the Catholics and for the rest of Christianity. It doesn't work for us, because we have a system. Hashem creates midah keneged midah, and that means in the midah keneged midah, there's a chesed, which Rav Nachman talks about, that the chesed in midah keneged midah gives me a chance to see what I did wrong. If I look at what I did wrong, there's a chance to see in what's happening to me now, to figure out, so maybe a more subtle way, I didn't realize I was not mechaber my parents, and that's why I'm getting what I'm getting from this particular kid or kids. So it doesn't make a difference, but that's how it works. So this does to know that there's no mistakes in God's world, zero mistakes. So that's a glimpse of Olam Haba. Because
Piranis doesn't mean punishment.
Sorry,
What's the root of piranis?
Piranut means payment.
The Freya Choy.
Yeah. I mean, please be welcome. Our Torah has been hijacked. It has been the Lashon has been kidnapped. I don't have a better word. There's another word I don't want to use, but it's horrific. I'll give you, the whole world opens up when we translate the words according to Lashon HaKodesh and then look for an English term. So for example, chet. Look at Targum. Chazal tell us Targum was given at Har Sinai. It's a Gemara in Brachas Daf Hey, and the Gemara in Megillah Daf Gimel talks about the Targum comes from Har Sinai. It's part of the Masorah. The Targum on Chet throughout Tanakh is Choiv, and that's the language of many of other types of Lashonis of Chet, which is Avain, for example. So the word Choiv means
Obligation.
it's a debt.
Debt.
I'm in debt. I have a debt. So how do I get out of debt?
And what is the definition? Like, Chet Chata Yerushalayim.
Now I put myself into debt. I've got to pay back.
So they were in complete debt.
Pirani is the payment.
Yeah. But the astonishing thing is, how do we get out of debt? So,
Pirani is by payment.
so payment, how do you pay? Ein piranat ba le'olam ela b'shvil Yisrael. Whatever we see the non-Jewish world suffering, it's a message to whom? It's to us. That we should be in fear that can happen to us, and let's do tshuva now before Has v'Shalom it has to come to us. So, but piranot means payment. Parea, chayv means you're paying back an obligation. So every chet puts me into a situation where I've got to pay a way out of this. So either that's going to become midah keneged midah, or if I'm smart enough and actually do teshuva, then I can pay back with words, literally. My words, which Rav Nachman is going to be talking about, take words and come back to me. Shuv el Hashem. So we're going to get to that, but the concept of punishment is really a bad translation, because it doesn't get to the grip. And now we can talk about God as a God who punishes. Well, that's different than when you say, no, God set up a system that there's a payback for everything, and there's different ways to get payback. As Yeshayahu Hanavi tells us in Nun Hey, Perek Nun Hey, and Pasuk Vav onwards, he tells us Hashem is not like human beings, and His ways are not like human beings. Lo darchai darchechem, machshavosai machshavosechem. And you look at Rashi on those psukim there, and he says, because if someone is insulting and disrespectful to the king in his presence, the king has no choice. He's got to cut off his head. But if in private, you are has v'shalom migadef, that means really the worst, like cursing Hashem, but in private you say sorry, Hashem says, I'll accept it. And he gives him Aruch Yamim for it. Hashem has other ways to get paid back without having to force it upon me. So part of his Arichas Apayim is that sometimes if I don't do tshuva straight away, so Hashem will make me pay in installments. Like the Chet HaEgel, which we're going to get to hopefully still today, the Chet HaEgel, Hashem said, that is really bad. It is so bad. Adultery under the chuppah. That's the Gemara's description of the Chet HaEgel. You just got married to me, and now within days, it's not even months and months later, it's basically, in such a short amount of time, you've already taken some other God.
So basically, this is Pshat. David said to Nosson said to David, "Vayemed David and Nosson."
Yeah, Chatati Lashem.
He was admitting to
Yes.
his fight, and right away. So this is what he said. He said right away to him. He replied,
Yes.
So being
Yes.
that you admitted,
Yes,
so
it
you
reduced
don't
the
have-
sentence.
You don't have a.
He wasn't going to die for it. It's amazing. He had to pay off with the loss of 4 children, but he didn't die right now because of it. That's
Right.
astonishing. In one word, chatati. So it's an important subject. It's indirectly in the words, but when we get to learning this more be'iyun, so then we'll take apart certain words which really lend themselves to understanding what the words mean in English. In Hebrew, it's easy if someone's really immersed in Lashon HaKodesh because that's his mother tongue. But for us, we've really got to scrutinize the English words that we are used to because they're frequently inaccurate and sometimes actually a decoy, actually send our mind elsewhere, and that we're missing out on the treasure that's hidden there. Uksheyeda kolzos, when a person really knows this, where paragraph Dalet of Torah Dalet, Nikra Yediyah Shlema, this is called total, complete Yediyah. Shalem means complete. Shalom comes from the word shalem, and before something is shalem, it's fractured, it's in pieces. So machlokes, actually, it doesn't mean argument. It's not a bad translation; it's just not accurate. In machlokes in Torah Shebal Peh, for example, it means chalakim. You're analyzing different parts, and once you understand that elu ve'elu divrei Elokim chayim, now you can have shalom because they're actually not arguing against each other. That's when it's a machlokes l'shem shemayim, which Rabbeinu Zal says. Rav Nachman tells us is the oisius Moshe is oisius machlokes Shammai Hillel. Because when it's a real machlokes l'shem shemayim, it's not chilukei deus. It's we're analyzing something that's broken into parts, and then when we put it back together, it's shalom. So Yediyah Shlema means that right now I'm dividing. This is good, this is not good. This is really good, this is really not good, or really bad. And when I'm living in that world, then I have fractured God's unity, so to speak. And it's my idea is not shalom. It's not making peace out of the differences. That's also in Torah Pei, I think it is, of Likutim first Chilek, where Rav Nachman says that Ikar Shalom is Shnei Hafeichim. When you're mischaber, you bring together, you fuse 2 opposites. So real shalom bias is dafka 2 opposites coexisting. It's not. Let's work out our differences. Let us even now. Let's iron out our differences. That's from the therapeutic world. That's very nice. But actually, the real Ikar Shalom, according to Rav Nachman, and the way the language works, is it's actually a fusion of differences. Don't be afraid of differences. You just got to figure out how to work with them, not against. Don't. If I'm going to busy myself trying to change my spouse. I waste decades. If I'm going to busy myself trying to change my teenager, even more funny, I'm not sure if it's more funny, and then change my married children, I'm going to be wasting so much time that God gave me to make shalom in myself. Let people be. They'll figure it out. That's why history has to repeat itself, because every generation has to learn from its own mistakes. And when we tell them, this is your mistake, most of the time it just doesn't work. That was in Torah Ches, in Tinyana, talks about Torah. Usually it stirs up all the smelly parts of a person when they are insulted or given Torah. They can't handle it. I can't handle it. So therefore, it just doesn't work. I've got to be really, really someone who loves that person so much that they can hear the love in the Tochacha. Tochacha is another Christian word that killed out, chastisement, rebuke. They all insinuate anger. And according to Rambam in Hilchas Deis, if a person's got anger when they give Tochacha, they're potter from Tochacha, because now the person's listening to my anger. They've got to figure out, okay, I got to avoid this person's anger, so I better not get caught next time. So they're not thinking about what they did wrong. So Tochacha is really meant to be a gentle reminder of what's right. And we're not getting into now, but all the language of Lashon Kodesh is perfect because it's God's dictionary. So I've got to take his dictionary seriously and be very careful, wary of the translations. So hu achdus shel chasadim gvurais, this achdus of da shlema is the fusion of two complete opposites. Something I would say that's kind and that's unkind. That's kind, that's harsh. No, Gvura is harsh and kindness is really coming from the exact same place. Zen das. That's called das. A person will not make any difference. He's not going to make a chilek. This is din, this is chesed. No, it's all one. Chesed is kindness, din is judgment. On everything that he goes through, he's going to say, Hatov, God is only the good. The good means there's nothing else except that. The Hametiv, and all that he does is good. This is what's meant in the pasuk, which we end off the last taste on our lips, on our mouths, every single shachris mincha mariv. V'haya Hashem lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yi Hashem echad u'shmo echad. K'maymer hachmeinu zal, as our sages unpack that pasuk in Pesachim Daf Nun, shel atid yiyah achdus gamur. That's when Hashem's name will be 100% complete. No, there's not going to be any fracture. Right now, when things go well, we say Hashem, you are Yud K and Vav K. When things don't go well, we call him Elokim, because he's meting out judgment. But Achdus HaGamor means there is really no difference coming from Hashem himself, and getting a glimpse of that. That's Me'ein Olam Haba. Shiyeh Kuloi HaTov HaMeitiv. Then, and this is as the Marsha says in that Gemara, Daf Nun in Pesachim, that what's going to happen is that on everything that I thought was bad, that I would have said Baruch Dayanemes, you're going to say the Bracha HaTov HaMeitiv. It's extremely extreme. That means to say, on the worst imaginable description of tragedy, when it's replayed to us by Yom Mahu, the bracha will make is HaTov HaMeitiv. In the words of Rabbi Victor Miller, I remember hearing it on a tape about 40 years ago. It's probably in writing somewhere by now. But he said, imagine that a person is standing at JFK waving goodbye to his relatives who are going on a plane, and he waits there to wave goodbye to them as the plane heads off, and his whole family, he's the only one staying home, the whole family is on their way to wherever they're going, and in mid-air, as he's waving, the plane blows up. No survivors. So says Rabbi Victor Miller, imagine no human being can handle that is good. So it just doesn't work that way, the way we are wired. But by Yom Mahu, Yi Hashem Echad U'Shmo Echad means he will open up the heavens, so to speak, and we'll see all the ruchniistic connections of why each person came into this world, and what their tikkun was, and how they actually finished their tikkun. And when he's saying goodbye, it's actually a celebration that they finished their job here. But I can't see that, and so it's a tragedy that most people would have to spend years in fully recuperating, if at all, and healing, and especially today with the new industry called, I call it Trauma Inc., it's going to take years and years and years of healing. But really, there's going to come a time when Hashem will give us a full glimpse of actually it's a perfect world, and always was, even with the Inquisition and the Crusades, and even when Adam ate from the tree, he ate from the tree in the 10th hour. In the 11th hour, Hashem sat with his Beis Din, and in the 12th hour, he was expelled from Gan Eden. Now, in that expulsion was the verdict: you will die. You're not going to live forever as originally was planned. And all of creation is now mortal, not immortal, mortal. Every creature is going to die. You've brought Ra into the world in shattering the vessel, so to speak, by eating from the tree. You've set back the whole of creation. So this is a huge tragedy. Now, right at the 12th hour, Vaye'er Vayevoker, Yom HaShishi, Hashem gives his final report. Perek Aleph Pasuk Lamed Aleph, Vayer Hashem, Hashem saw at Kol Asher Asa, all that he had done. Look at the Rukeach on that pasuk. There's a Rukeach on Chumash. On that pasuk, he says Hashem saw everything that was going to happen now because of Adam's Aveira, everything in the future, everything. Hashem saw Vihine. You got to pay attention. That's what Hine means. Pay extra attention. Every word deserves my full attention. But when Hashem goes out of his way to say Hine, it means pay extra attention. Vihine Toiv Ma'od. The world is exceedingly good. And the only way to understand that is because Hashem is so great, He can turn any Bechira that's used L'ra for bad and turning into Tova. And throughout our text, you're going to see that all the time. Yosef is sold into Mitzrayim. His brothers reunite when he says, Ani Yosef, and they're expecting payback. And he says, Lo yatem shalachti mosi hena. You are not the ones who sent me here. Excuse me, we've been reading the Pesukim straight from Vayeshev all the way till now, and you're telling me you weren't sold, and you weren't in prison for 12 years, and you weren't accused falsely, and all that's from your brothers. He says, no. This was all Elokim, the power of all powers. And he had to reassure them multiple times because he was getting a glimpse of Olam HaEmes, and in that world there's no wrong. And therefore, whatever would happen to him, he was able to celebrate. It's extraordinary, absolutely extraordinary. Our greatest tzaddikim were always like that. It was up and down, but they kept going back into the default. David HaMelech was like that. Would not let go. You're only toiv, v'hametiv. V'zeh Hashem echad u'shmoi echad zeh bechinas Elokim malchus. Bechina we mentioned last week. I didn't get into detail, but we'll do it by Eon when we go this into Eon. Chain is an invisible connection. That's what I heard in the name of the Stipler from Rabbi Yaakov Greenwald, who heard it from the Stipler. Chain is a connection that you cannot see. The connection you cannot see is what's going on in people's minds and their hearts. You don't see that, but you can see it on their faces. So we're going to learn about it more. So that means your facial expressions are a reflection of what you can't see. So you can see what you can't see on the facial expressions. So if someone is like Yaakov Avinu, Ishtam, which Chazal tell us, Kaliboy Kempiv, that's Rashi's quote from the Medrash, what he's thinking and feeling, Lev, is mind and heart, what he's thinking and therefore feeling, Kempiv, that's what comes out of his mouth. He's 100% congruous. He's congruent in every his body language, his facial expression, his words match what he's thinking and feeling. So you know what's going on inside him. Masha Enkain, Esav, who is Sayed Befiv, he's got one machshava, which is manipulation, how to take advantage, how can I squeeze out of this situation or person something in my favor. So it's not about giving, it's about taking. But he does it in such a brilliant manipulative way that he literally traps people with his mouth. That's a manipulator, a con man. And that was Esav. So these twins went in two different directions. So a bechina means a connection. It's an invisible connection. And when Rav Nachman used the word bechina, if you start translating it this way, then you can see in what aspect is this a connection. So Zeh bechinas Elokim Malchus. Hashem, the power of all powers, He is Malchus. He is really kingship, royalty. K'moshe Kasav V'yastav Shem. Like the pasuk says this in Shmuel Beis, Perek Ches, pasuk Yud Gimel till Tesvav. It's the basic context there, which I'm just touching on now. We'll learn it Be'eon later. That is that David HaMelech made a name for himself. How did he make a name for himself? That when he knocked off Goliath, and now he was promoted to general of the Jewish army. Every single war that he went, he killed thousands and thousands of our enemies, and there wasn't one not one Jew of the Jewish army that died. Not only that, he got a Shem for himself amongst the Goyim, the nations, his enemies. He got a good name. How's that? They killed so many of their people, made so many almanas. So Rashi brings, and it's from Chazal, he buried every single one of the enemies that they killed. And that gave him a huge Shem Tov, a very good name. So he had an extraordinary reputation. V'yas David Shem, Echad Gematria Ava. So this is very interesting. We're going to do all the links when we learn this Be'iyun, but here this is huge. This is very, very big. The word echad is the numerical value of 13, and it's gematria of Ahava. The same numerical value of love. Hainu, hen Hashem shu rachamim, when Hashem appears to us as a God of mercy, hen shemoi shu b'chinas Elokim, or when Hashem appears to us as Elokim. Elokim is also means judges. That's a pasuk in Perek Chaf Aleph, I believe, in Mishpatim, Parshas Mishpatim. B'chinas din, Elokim is din. Kula l'toiv ascha, that connects to din. It really is for your good. Whatever you're experiencing, whether it's chesed, rachamim, or din, gvura, and Elokim, why? Why is it really good? Machmas ahava sha'akadosh baruch hu ohev oscha, because Hashem loves you. Just to swallow this is a lifetime. Hashem loves everything that's happening to us. The good and the bad is really one. So it's only good. It appears bad to us. That's why the pasuk, the Marsha brings on the pasuk in Eicha Perek, the Gimel pasuk Lamed Ches, Lo teitze haraz v'hatoiv, mipi elyon lo teitze haraz v'hatoiv. From the mouth of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the mouth meaning Hashem creates everything through His mouth. Baruch she'amar v'ha'olam. Baruch oimeh v'oiseh. And that's continuous. It's not one time He created the universe with His mouth and said words. It's continuous, which means that everything that's being renewed every moment, which we're going to see very soon, is oisius. Hashem speaking all the time. And the speaking creates words, Lashon HaKodesh, and Lashon HaKodesh is made up of oisius, letters, and those letters are in the physical bria. So eventually, I guess we're going to get to a point, I don't know if it'll be before Mashiach or after Mashiach comes, where we will actually look at a microscope, and what we will see is not just the physical structure of molecules and atoms and whatever quirks they come up with. I think that's one of the names of the smaller than even an atom. You're going to see the ruchniistic energy that's creating the metzias in the physical world, and that is nitzoitzes, the sparks, which are actually coming off the letters, the oisius. So everything's made up of oisius. So how do we get to that? So once you know that, we're going to have this achdus. Hashem, oh my gosh, you're everything's coming from you, and there's only one motivation: you love us. Even the puranut, even what seems to be payment is also your love. Machmas ava shakadosh baruch hu oyevescha k'moshekasov, because the pasuk brings now from Mishlei. This is very interesting. There's a lot of pasukim he could have brought. I think the most obvious one might have been Yirmiyahu Perek Lamed Aleph, pasuk base, where we've quoted in the previous Torah, Avas Olam Havtich, I've loved you, an eternal, endless love. Al Kain, that's why Mashachti Chased, I'm drawing down my kindness upon you. So that is actually the makor of Avas Olam that we say every day in davening, Ava Rabbah, for the Ashkenazim, and that's what the Gemara tells us. From this pasuk we learn Hashem's love is endless. It's all over the place. It's interesting that over here Rav Nachman quotes, what's the proof of Hashem's love? So remember, we're talking here a context where we got two opposites, chesed and gevura. So what would be a demonstration of Hashem's chesed? If it's in the area of of Hashem's love, if it's in the area of chesed, it's too obvious. But what would happen if you can bring me a pasuk that shows that when Hashem disciplines me with din and gevura, He's disciplining me like a father to a child. So he quotes from Shlomo Melech, Hacham Mikol Adam, in Mishlei Perek Gimel, pasuk Yud Beis, Ki es asher yehav Hashem yochia. Who Hashem loves, He gives toichacha to. Toichacha literally means gentle correction. Forgive me, that's not the translation in translations. Toichacha is chastisement or rebuke. The problem with those two is that it suggests anger or frustration with the person that you're giving tochacha to. And Chazal tell us that
series of
Hoichacha,
proof.
Hoichacha is in Perek Chaf Dalet and in Chaf Hey. I don't have the exact pasuk in front of me in Bereshis, where Rashi brings the lashon of tochacha is lashon birur dvarim. We're clarifying things. So it's actually not a chastisement. And in the lashon of Rambam, when he talks about the mitzvah of tochacha, he says, I've got to ask my friend Chaveri, lama asita kacha. So I'm show to me what's behind your behavior, because I don't want to fall into the trap of thinking and assuming that you're dafka doing this to hurt me, and this gives the person a chance to realize, oh, you're not coming hard on me. You're just asking me why am I doing these strange things or behaviors that you as my father or mother or friend have asked in the past. Please don't do that, and you gone and did it again. So now you give that person a chance to either apologize, now can make shalom, or say, oh no, I wasn't paying attention, I'm so sorry, or that's not what I said, and now explain what the miscommunication is, or you heard that in someone else's name, that's not what I said to them, and then they can explain it. So if I don't ask, I just come down hard. That's not tochacha. Tochacha is a bikush, a biru dvarim. Biru is clarifying words, clarifying items. So that's what it really is. And another lashon for it is to prove.
Like
Yeah.
when you learn and you bring a chacha from
Yes.
somewhere.
But you've got to prove it in a
By
way that the other
verifying.
person understands this is proof, and now I know what to apologize for.
It's basically
You
revealing the facts.
Yes, revealing facts, but that is through a process of clarification. Birur dvarim. So please be mocking me if I rely on Chazal and Rashi and Rishonim for translating our Torah.
That's great.
I apologize for deviating from the Torah Masorah.
No need to apologize.
So Ahava is Achdus. This is Achdus, and it's Ahav Hashem's Ahava. And where is it clear?
Rewrite the article.
Sorry.
Rewrite the article.
So
On camera, you don't
yeah, we could
run into issues here with art school.
yeah. Please say shlita. Okay, so Kamosha Kasav Es Asher Yehav. Whoever Hashem loves, Yochiach, he is going to give toichacha to. He's going to give gentle correction, and if I don't get the toichacha, so you might have to turn up the volume. Now the rest of the pasuk, which I think is good to know, is uka'av es ben yirtzeh. That's the rest of the same pasuk that we're quoting now. It's like a son, like a father who wants his son. That means to say he only wants the best for his son. That's what Rashi says on that pasuk. We're quoting from the pasuk in Mishlei Perek Gimel pasuk Yud Beis, that Rashi finishes off the rest of that pasuk, which Rav Nachman is bringing. It's a father who loves his son, who wants the best and only the good for his son. So once you know that's the context, it makes total sense why Rav Nachman is dafka quoting this pasuk. Uketiv. Now, when we learn this be'iyun, we're going to figure out why did Rav Nachman now bring a second verse. What's it adding that the first one hasn't accomplished in the statement that Hashem's Ava is all achdus, it's all one. And one of the indications of that is Ava and Echad are the same gematria to indicate that they are 100% synonymous. Rak etchem, and now he quotes from Amos, Perek Gimel Pasuk Beis. Rak etchem yadati mikol mishpachos ha'adama, is only you that I have known from all the nations. Mishpacha in very often means nations. That's what Radak brings when in Perek Yud Beis Pasuk Beis and Gimel. When Avraham Avinu is told, "V'nivruchu b'cha kol mishpachos ha'adama," all the families of the earth are all the nations of the earth. All the nations are made up of families. So really, it is both. But all the nations of the earth, only you I have made known. And we're going to see the word das means ava. Al kain efkoit aleichem avonei sechem. Because I love you only, and that's Radak. You look at Radak and Rashi. Sorry?
I'm going to be medactic with you on each and
Every single one. And that is chesed. That he's not going to let me leave this world in debt. He's going to let me pay off my debts before I leave this world. That's a huge chesed. I don't want to have to pay them off on Yom Adin through Gilgal, which is much worse than Gehenna or Gehenna. I don't want either of those. I would rather leave this world with a clean slate. So how's Hashem going to make a clean slate if I don't clean it myself? So he's going to bring kapara, which is a form of cleaning, through Puranot, from making me pay even against my will. Against my will.
Gilgal is worse.
Yeah, much worse. Yeah,
Gehenna.
much worse than Gehenna. Yeah, Reincarnation, which is not the correct translation, means recycled soul. But the problem with recycle, which is the correct translation of Gilgul, is it's got a connotation of garbage that's been recycled. So it's got, but that's what recycling the soul. Okay, send it back in and give it another chance to do its job. That's a much worse form of suffering than Gehenna, because Gehenna is defined 12 months max for a Rasha, probably a lot less for someone who's not a Rasha, but Gilgul could go on for hundreds and hundreds of years. It's a horrible suffering. I've heard it from Rabbi Rosenfeld, Alav Shalom. I think it's on his tapes when I was a teenager. I heard him say that if you're in Shemayim and they give you a choice of Gehenna or Gilgul, you gotta choose Gehenna. It's so much better. Even though we know that one burn in Gehenna is worse than all the suffering of Eiv that he had in a 12-month period. But that's a separate discussion.
It's hard to understand because the Gilgul you don't feel the pain.
It's horrific. You see, I'm not going to go into detail, but the real pain is only experienced in the mind, and the mind exists forever. So the doimem, it can't speak. It's a rock, but if it's a Gilgul, the mind is inside that rock and it is suffering terribly, wondering, is anyone ever going to do a mitzvah with me?
I mean a Gilgul in another person.
A Gilgul, another person?
Yeah, second chance to live.
The person himself won't know. The person himself won't know.
The person knows he's not in pain.
But the soul connected
The
to him.
pain-
The chelik, there are four parts of the soul.
I mean, he doesn't know. He
Never
doesn't feel
sure
the pain. That's the
Sure.
thing, he's living life.
The other part of him is living in pain.
Is coming back as a Gilgul as a person means he's going to have to go through and pay for every mistake he made in the previous lifetime.
We all go through this?
Yes. We're all Gilgulim. We're all Gilgulim.
So we don't feel the pain of the Gilgul.
In-
Our soul feels.
If we understood what's happening to us that we interpret as bad and painful, anxiety is pain that takes place here. Fear is pain that takes place here. Worry is pain that takes place here. Trauma is a memory of pain that takes place. It's all taking place in the same place. And physical pain is also taking place in the mind. There are people who've gone through physical pain. You have stories of tzaddikim and go'enim in even the Litvish world who elected not to have a epidural or anesthesia because they didn't want to be mafsik from learning, and so they would put themselves into a spiritual coma, so to speak, where their mind is so absorbed with the Torah that they're thinking that they wouldn't feel the surgery. And we're talking about open surgery. So there are such stories. You've got the people like the Iceman today, whose name is I'm trying to remember now. His nickname is Iceman. I forgot his name. The guy, Wim Hof. Thank you, Wim Hof. So he is
cold plunge guy.
He's trained himself to actually he can make his one hand have a different temperature to the other hand. That takes many years of meditation to be able to do that, but that is an actual ability that the mind has over the body. So the mind over body is a real thing. Mind over matter. Like I don't mind and you don't matter. But that is a reality. Mind is more powerful than matter, and a Gilgul does go through suffering. It's if I were to know the Gehenna is more defined, I would prefer not to come back for a whole lifetime and suffer what I have to pay for the mistakes I made previously. So
all I'm asking is that the pain of a Gilgul, if we're all Gilgulim, we don't feel the pain necessarily. In Gehenna we feel every minute of it.
Listen, we're in crunch time. We're so close to the final Geula that you can see with your own eyes, literally, the pain that people are going through. It's not normal. It's crunch time. We're all going through Gilgulim, and all of the Gilgulim are coming to the last generation, even the Goyim, and they're being given, they're confronted. They messed up so many times. This is the final choice. Are you going to side with God of Israel, Eretz Israel, and His Torah, or are you against all of that? Because it's one package.
Hashem's left with very few supporters.
Very few. It's astonishing. I don't know if there's even a million of non-Jews who have gone public on our side because they don't want to get the flack of the. It's I know, and Trump, may he be blessed and protected. You know, he's got a spine that's not normal. He stands up to all of it. He's not in a popularity contest. But the Goyim are getting a final choice, whether it's this generation or spilling into the next. We're so near the end. And the amount of pain people are going through is not normal. That's one of the last items of criteria, knowing that we're in Ikvus the Mashiach. That our own relatives, immediate relatives, are going to be against us. A daughter will stand up against her mother, against her mother-in-law. A son will be Menabel Av, will speak denigratingly towards his own father. It's astonishing. We're really there.
Hashem doesn't need that many.
I'm a little louder?
Hashem doesn't need a certain amount of neshamas before he finishes. Does he? He doesn't need any amount. Like there's no number.
Right. So
It's our choice. In other words, if
yeah, there's 600,000 neshamas total of Klal Yisrael. There's obviously more Jews than 600,000, but that's because we're split into husband and wife, and then there's parts of the neshama that's coming back in Gilgal that is a part of the neshama. It's not the exact same. All parts of the neshama that's coming back. That doesn't happen. That's brought in Sefer Gilgulim of their Rizal, and it's quoted all over the place. But for argument's sake over here, what we're bringing out in this pasuk, don't mind getting back to the pasuk, that uketiv rak eschem yadati. So the word yadati, Rashi points out, and the Radak and Metzudas is a lashon of ava. So Inyan ava, that's the lashon of Metzudas. He says ava, that means levad, you only. Ahavti mikol ha'umais, I have loved from all the nations. V'atem peshatim bi, you rebelled against me. Pesheya is where a person does an avera. Dafkel hachis. So he may not even care about doing the avera, but knowing that it annoys Hashem, he's going to be a pesheya. That's huge. So you have rebelled against me. Lachein eskor aleichem avonosechem. I'm going to recall, which means I'm going to bring about the repercussions, the consequences of all your avonos. Avonos are deliberate averas. L'shalim gmul al kulam, to pay a payment for all of them, so that you can leave this world paid in full, with a full clean bill. What? Sorry. I'm quoting the Metzudas on the word yadati. Yadati is a lashon of ava. We'll learn it more when we go through it, but I just wanted to know that he's bringing this as a proof that from all the nations, Hashem has only selected us for this unique love. And the unique love means I cannot bear my own child going in the wrong direction. So I will correct you. I'll start off gently, but if I have to force you, I might have to force you too. So that is the language of efkait aleichem kol avonusechem. I'm actually going to make you pay for everything. Gemul is a very interesting word. We'll learn it when we learn it be'iyum, but gomel means to give, bestow. It also means to stop giving. Vayigdal hayeled vi gamal, same lashon. Also means camel, and it also means payment. And what we will see, and we've seen it a few times, but I'm going to make a big deal out of it this time, is that Lashon HaKodesh, because it's perfect, when you have a 2 or 3 letter shoresh, and you know its multiple possible meanings, you're not looking at different meanings, you're looking at different ingredients of one recipe. So the real Goimel, Hashem's Gemulus Chasedim, his Goimel Chesed, his real Gemulus Chesed is even when he forces us to be Goimel, to pay back everything that's owed. And that is real kindness, the ultimate kindness. Hey, any questions on this?
Even without the pasuk of the explanation of the Metzudas, Yadati is like I said at the beginning. Yadati is Achdus of Yediyah Shlema.
Yes, excellent. Yes, it's going on intimacy.
No, so without even touching it as a hava, what he's saying earlier is that that's what Yediyah means.
Yes,
It means
thus is
differentiating between 2 different things.
excellent. So you're bringing it together. You're explaining that it's really stringed together, because we started off explaining that Das is the fusion of 2 opposites, and that's Hashem's Ava, which is Echad, and therefore this is also part of that. Yeah, yeah. But he's bringing out that paying for our avonos, our averas, is part of his love for us. And if I know that, then I've got Dar Shalom. Yes.
Are we supposed to accept the situation and excuse it because of where we are in Chevli Mashiach?
We should definitely take comfort that since we since we know from Malachi, Perek Gimel, the psukim there that's quoted in the last Mishnah in Sota, Perek Tes, the last three Mishnayos talk about what we lost when all the great Tanaim passed away, and then suddenly there's a jump to all the simanim that when Mashiach comes, what are those simanim? So just knowing that everyone's going to go through, I don't say everyone, but just knowing that a siman of Mashiach coming is the Oive Ish, who will be our enemies, Anshe Beisoi, members of our own household. So that is a comfort, because the Mishnah ends off Al Mi Lanu Lehishayin. If my own family's against me, well, where do I turn? So Hashem says, you can rely on me. Ein lanu al mi l'shayin el avinu. It's Daddy, Abba, you love me. Shabashamayim. He's got the full picture in upstairs. He sees everything that's taking place down here. I'm in good hands, and it's not Plan B. You know what? I got no choice. Let's turn to Petachon. No, that's Plan A. It always was Plan A. It's just we're a crunch time where if the own people that I nurtured in raising are turning against me, so I know that we're getting really close, and Hashem is forcing me to turn to Him because Ein Lanu. There is no other option. Lehishayin, which is a language of, it's not soimech. Soimech is when you're leaning on something, but lishayin means you're depending on that for support. And if I'm leaning on, let's say, shtender, in such a way that if someone were to remove the shtender, I would fall, that's called lehishayin. So there's nobody there's nothing I can rely on other than Avinu, Abba, Tati, Daddy, you love me, and therefore I can only turn to you. So now the Oive Ish turns this into, I'm coming close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And who's causing that? The Oive Ish, the enemies of a person. So if we really marry the Pasuk with Eliyahu Navi coming at the end of time and introducing Mashiach, Chazal tell us what's the reason he's coming is to bring a father to his son and his son to his father, which means that Oive Ish Anshe Veisoi, it should be a nechama to us. I hope I'm answering this question. It should be a nechama to us that, oh my gosh, we're so close to the end that even with all that I'm trying in my mind and my diburim and any actions I do to be makar of this child back, Hashem, you're going to bring me back to my son back to me, my child back to me, because we're so close to the end. And Eliyahu Navi is going to make sure that he does that as part of the Geula Shlema, part of the final ingathering of all Klal Yisrael. Does that help answer that question?
I hope so.
Okay, so the last item we left off on, and we're going to give a stab to paragraph Hey, is that Hashem is going to visit upon us. That's what Efkoid means. I'm going to remember and mention and cause that your avonos, which is a deliberate aveira, will be visited. That means you're going to pay back for them. But that's only because I love you. And even though you see that you've suffered more than all the other nations of the world, take that as a compliment. That you can take it. We've been through Golas, Mitzrayim, Bavel, Pras, Yavan, Edom. We've been through the Crusades, Inquisition, Cossacks, Tachvatat. We've been through the Holocaust and Jihad, and now we've got global anti-Semitism in the media. And Hashem says, don't take it personally. Or if you want, take it personally. Take this as a compliment. I'm only doing this because I love you. I don't love anyone else more than I love you. So now Rav Nachman is going to get into what's the mechanics of getting rid of our avonos. So the first thing he's going to tell us is, where do those avonos go? What do they do to us internally? The avonos of shaladam. When in paragraph Hey, we'll give it a stab. The avonos shaladam hem alatz moisav. They are actually on. Doesn't say in. We're going to see what that means soon. They're on a person's bones. They're etched on his bones. Because the pasuk says in Yecheskel, Perek Lamed Beis, pasuk Chav Zayin. Whenever the Torah, or in this case, it's Rav Nachman, wherever a pasuk is brought, it's giving you the source for what he's just said. And it's not just the source as a support, it's the goyrem. It's what causes that to happen. So how do we know that when a person does an oven is an avera which is done b'mezid? It's not lahachis. It's not done to right in God's face, but it's still, nevertheless, he does it knowing it's an avera. What happens to that avera? Bati avonosam chakuka al atzmosam. Now, the truth is the word chakuka is not in the pasuk, but Rav Nachman does put it in here. But it happens to be that Chazal, when they unpack this pasuk, they actually do throw in this word. So Rav Nachman, what?
It's a Gemara that says chakuka?
Yeah.
So, a Gemara.
It could be.
Gemara,
I have it RIETTI1 in footnote number 40. He points out that this is not in the actual pasuk, but Rav Nachman does bring it. When we learn this be'iyun, I'll try to explain that there's a Torah shebechtav, there's a Torah shebal peh. So when you're quoting the Torah shebechtav, and this is what Rav Nachman is doing is taking, if you want to call it, the liberty of explaining the same pasuk lefi the Torah shebal peh. So it does mean chakuka because that's actually the way Chazal tell us it is. There are a number of Chazals that Rav Nachman quotes, which is not the exact wording in the Gemara that he's quoting. Let's say,
Vati avonosam al atzmosam, it says.
right.
He did it in the first paragraph too. Hashem al davar kim al davar. The pasuk says the opposite. Kim al davar.
Welcome al the Hashem.
Right. Jeez.
What's the pasuk say?
Vayitnes chavosim tachas Hashem.
Right.
Vati avonosam al atzmosam kechitis giborim be'eretz chayim.
Kechitat.
Kechitis giborim be'eretz chayim. Kechitit. In your
Which pasuk?
right, the three
Two lines from the bottom.
on the bottom.
2 lines from the bottom.
ולא ישכבו אס גיבורים נויבלים מהאלים, אשר ידעו שאול בכלי מלחמתם, ייתנו את חרבויסם תחת ראשיהם. He will place your swords under your heads, vati avonosam al atzmosam. So your avonus will be on your bones. Ki chitit giborim be'eretz chayim. Chitit is also a
There's
lotion
a
of
fear of the giborim be'eretz chayim.
in lands of in reference to Olam Haba. So there's no hakika here.
Right.
But Rav Nachman is going on what Chazal, when they unpack this, and you look at Rashi and Masudas, the lashon of al is hakika. The kol aveira. Just quick, I'll finish this part here. I don't think we're going to get to finish hay. We'll have to start it again next week. The kol aveira, every single aveira. Now an aveira is listed in the Torah. You've got 365 don't do's, 248 do's. So an aveira is a pasuk. So when a person's over an aveira, they are transgressing, they're violating words in a pasuk. So b'chol aveira yesh la tziruf oisius. Every aveira has a combination. Tziruf means a combination of letters in that pasuk. Uksha'ava is aveira. So when a person violates a specific aveira, as nekak tziruf ra al atzmosav, the combination of those letters are now etched on the bones of that person, and it's not the same letters in the order that they are found in the pasuk. They are etched on the person's bones in a way that actually the punishment of what's going to come for that, or the better word would be the consequences, is actually etched on the bones. Now the connection here is that the dibur that Hashem spoke when He told us this aveira is now on the person's on his bones. Machnis hadibur shel halav hazeh she'ava, the one that he violated, b'toch hatumah, and it enters the tumah. Tumah, we're going to have to explain it better next week. There's two worlds that Hashem created: the physical world and the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, there's, if you want to call it, I'm going to call it two palaces, because he uses the language of Malchus. So it makes it a bit easier to comprehend the concept that there's such a thing as a palace that is a royal palace of Kedusha. And that got taken apart, broken apart with Adam's sin, and now you've got lots of bricks all over the place. And when we do a mitzvah, we are...
That's called Shiur Sekeilim?
Yes. What we are now doing is, where every single mitzvah, we are actually building in real time, we're rebuilding the way God wanted the world to be in the first place. every single Aveira is, I don't want to use the word destroy because there isn't really a word that correctly translates as destroy, because destroy means gone forever. There's very few things that really applies to, except for extraordinary Rishaim, of which even Chazal only identified 4 who really completely lost their Olam Haba. And some want to say, I don't remember where I saw this, where it says, Ein loy chelek le'olam haba, Ein loy chelek le'olam haba, but a tzaddik can give a piece of his chelek to get that person out of Gehenna. So I'm not going in there now. It's a very different Torah, but it relates later on to why the tzaddik emes is interested in saving every single Jew, even the Poshe Yisrael, which we've got plenty of chazals that tell us, even Poshe Yisrael, the ones who go against Hashem lahakis, even they are malei mitzvahs karimon. They are full of mitzvahs like a rimon, which has at least 600 seeds, 613 seeds, and each seed can create thousands, millions, and trillions of trees. So every single Jew has lots and lots of mitzvahs. But the Petoich HaTumah, it means there's 2 palaces. There's a palace of Malchus of Kedusha, and Hashem, Zelu Mazeh Asa Elokim, Hashem, in order to maintain our free will, it's impossible that the good and the light and the chesed would be so obvious, so clear to us, so bright, that we would lose our bechira to do Averas. So so to maintain the constant balance to have bechira, Hashem has to have created a, so to speak, spiritual world of Tumah, Malchus of Tumah, which is going to talk about soon, that every time I do an Aveira, I take a brick out of the Malchus of Kedusha, or worse, I break the brick into smaller pieces, and now there's more clearing up to do, more nitzosos to collect, and I give power to the Malchus of Tumah. The Malchus of Tumah is what he's going to explain, is really what the nations of the world get Malchus, Memshala, rulership over us because of our Aveiras. So anti-Semitism is actually, it's a brilliant disguise. It's Hashem's way of giving power to the non-Jews from our Aveiras to then hate us, or worse, hurt us, and that is, all of that's only meant to be a reminder to me that it's me who's got to do my tikkun, and that's what's going to disarm our enemies in the non-Jewish world. So the Malchus of Tumah is getting their kaya from Malchus of Kedusha that I am deconstructing, but the word destruction is really a bad word, because you're going to see there's very few words that really properly translate that way. You've got Shemama and Cherev, Machriv, we're going to see. Hainu shemachnis bechinas Malchus. So now what I've done is I've taken the connection of Malchus, shehu bechinas daba echad lader, hu machnis oisa betoich ha'akum. The fact that there's one leader per generation, and daba is also play on the word devarim, which we're going to see soon, not today. I'm giving over my diburim from Aveiras, and I'm now taking the words that Hashem said, don't do this, and it's getting etched on my body. But not only etched on my body, the spiritual energy of that Aveira gives spiritual power to the nations to have Malchus and Memshala against us. And really, the Malchus only belongs to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Malchus of Kedusha is really Hashem, and I am dismantling that Malchus by giving my Aveiras, and it's hurting me, my bones, and it's going to the Akum. Here he's always saying Akum, but he already said in the original manuscript the actual words is Goyim. It's not Akum, but we had to put it in Akum, and it's still in there because that was from the censors under the Tsar. But Christianity are the ones really responsible for that. So it's even in the Likutei Moharan that we still have Ad Hayom, but in the English version you'll see, whenever there's an act from the original manuscript, you'll see there's a special type of parenthesis that like this, where it puts in English the actual words from the original manuscript in Hebrew, and the original Hebrew is Goyim. It's the nations. We give them rulership, and then he's going to give us a mashal, which we'll get into next week. I hope I've given a little bit of to explain what's coming in terms of this transference, that when we do Aveiras, it goes on our bones, but also we're transferring a spiritual power to the nations, and that's what gives them power to be moshel on us, and that's anti-Semitism and their hatred and the harm that they're capable of, but we're the ones who are empowering them. Any questions? Comments?
Great, thank you.
Most welcome.
What does the Taka mean when the Rebbe changes the language of it? He writes Kamosha Kasev, but then
Yeah,
he was asking.
it's so important to try and figure this out, because Rav Nachman himself says that you can treat whatever I wrote myself or was dictated by me to Rav Nosson Zal word for word, and Rav Nachman checked. You can treat it like a pasuk in Chumash. That's a huge claim, because basically what he's saying is he's putting himself. It's hard to say, but he's putting himself on par with Moshe Rabbeinu, who's writing on the dictate of a Kadosh Baruch Hu. That if you can be medayik his wording like you can a pasuk, then what it's basically saying is a pasuk has unlimited trillions and trillions, and that's not even the right number. It's unlimited number of pshatim in all areas of pshat, remez, drush, and side. So that means he's really taking the information from the highest places. As Moshe Rabbeinu did when HaKadosh Baruch Hu dictated to Moshe Rabbeinu. So now, when he doesn't quote a pasuk correctly, so if it's not a Torah Sefer, which is possible, that is possible, but otherwise,
This one is Lashon Rabbeinu, so
So what you've got to do is figure out, okay, so why did he either change the wording or add a word? So this is getting us into a little bit of deep waters, because in a certain sense, a person has to be, I want to say, kind of pre-screened into understanding the stature of the tzaddik whose Torahs we're learning. Otherwise, this becomes actual fuel to the detractors who want to say this is crazy. How do you do that? In shul, we correct a Bal Kaira if he makes a mistake. So how do we do this? So if you look carefully, you start to realize that sometimes he's quoting from Ein Yaakov, that the lashon in Ein Yaakov is actually different girsa than the Gemara, and sometimes the language he's choosing is actually explaining what the words in the Torah actually means.
in other words, could be the way the Rebbe's writing is Kamosha Kasev, as the pasuk says, "V'atehi avonosam kama."
Yes.
Which means it's chakuka.
Yes.
Back to the pasuk.
Yeah.
Al atzmoisam.
Yes, you could
So
learn it that
he's
way.
inserting a definition which he took from either Gemara
Yeah.
or whatever, and then going back to the
For
pasuk.
example, Bashem al Dov.
Oh, that's also backward. Yeah, it's back.
Yeah.
The Gemara quotes it also backwards.
Yes,
Oh.
the Gemara does as well.
And the Gemara also says-
the Gemara quotes the pasuk the same way the Rebbe is quoting the pasuk.
Yes.
And that's true, because this thing that we're questioning the Rebbe is very common in the Gemara.
Yeah,
if
so
you
we're
look
gonna
up
see
the
that.
pasuk, it's not exactly
Yeah,
the way
we'll
the
see
Gemara
that.
quotes
The
it.
Ben Yoyada on that
Try to
Gemara.
figure out why he did. When does he bring it correctly? When does he add in words? It's not.
So there has to be a reason.
Right.
That's the starting point. Then the question becomes, can I understand the reason? Because it can't have been that he put it here for me not to be able to understand. Because I'm allowed to ask any question on it, like, because he says you can be medayik my lashon as you are a pasuk. So that's a even Rishonim don't speak that way. We know we can be
that itself
medayik
is
the
a
lashon.
comfort. I'm saying to see that Tanaim and Amoraim did the same thing.
Yes.
That itself already is.
Yes.
I mean, it's not that we need the explanation. But
Right.
I'm saying
The Rishonim don't speak this way, but all Sifra HaMedrash and the Pshuta HaMedrash, they all speak the same way. Sefer, look at the Maran, it's pretty much
In the same
what
vein.
it-
In the same.
That's also you're putting it with Chazal.
But we're still. Yeah.
It's to medaktin every word. It's
Yeah.
tricky.
But
That's
all,
not a-
all,
that's not a-
Sifra HaMedrash, the Al Shchakodesh and all the Medrashim. I mean, you talk the Sifra Al Ghazi, they're all in the same way.
So I think sometimes Be'ez Hashem will do that whenever we come across like you're bringing with the Gemara and Brachas Samach on a base. So we're going to see why even the Gemara does bring the pasuk that he's quoting also out of order, and Rav Nachman is as well. We're going to look at that when we do this be'iyun. But for right now, we know that we're allowed to actually ask these questions because he said we can.
And the simple answer is he's teaching us how to look at the pasuk.
Yes. Yeah.
That's Drush.
Yeah.
A few times in the Gemara, he quotes the Gemara in Menachos, for example. Not coming too soon in Daf Yomi, but in Tzadik Test. Oh, you've already finished Menachos. So in Tzadik Test, there's the Gemara, Bitula Shel Torah, Zuhu,
Kiyuma.
So he always quotes it Kiyuma. The Gemara doesn't say that. It says Zuhi Yisoida. Now there is a difference between Kiyum and Yisoid. But if you're thinking about it, the word Yisoida is actually telling me the real shorish of it. That the Kiyum is only because of the Yisoid. So for example, if you want to build a huge building, the reliability of that building being as high as you want it to be is 100% dependent not on its kiyum standing, but on the yesod, how
the
deep
piles down,
and
deep
well,
down.
is the foundation. Like the Maharal brings, someone passes by a pit and says, "What are you doing?" And the workers there saying, "We're building a very tall building." He said, "You idiot! You're supposed to go in the opposite direction." He said, "No, you don't understand. You're the shaita. Before we can go up, we've got to go down. And the deeper we can build the foundation, that's how far up we can go, and it will have a kiyum." So one could argue, oh, he's misquoting the Gemara, and he does that several times throughout Likutei Moharan. But when you ask, so what is a kiyum dependent on? And the answer is the yesod. So really, he's getting to the yesod of the kiyum. So Be'ezras Hashem, we'll explore.
Sunday. Next week.
So next
Oh,
week,
yeah.
I'm going to be in Lakewood. So I think it's going to be really hard for me to make sure I'm here on time. So so we can pick up the following week, but the following 2 Sunday mornings I've got to be by a simcha in the morning. So family simcha. So and it's 2 weeks in a row, 2 different simchas. So I'm going to ask, is there a way I can make it up so we don't lose 3 weeks in a row?
I'm not going to be here for
Wait.
those 3 weeks.
So that answers that question.
So again, Sunday after Shavuos is Lakewood.
Yeah, I know.
You're gonna be in Lakewood?
Shavuos I'm in Lakewood, and I was going to be with the family.
And
Everything else,
Sunday
I'm not going to
morning?
be able to come.